Okay, everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's edition of Notre Dame Daily, brought to you by Fan Arch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and ahead of Saturday night's showdown with the number 20 ranked and rival USC Trojans, the Irish have released an updated injury report, of course. As we know, going back to yesterday, starting center Ashton Craig is going to miss the remainder of the season due to a left knee injury. As such, what does that mean moving forward? Joe Otting is going to take over the starting position in the middle of Notre Dame's offensive line with freshman Cam Herron, who's played very well in reps and practice and has really impressed his coaches. He's going to slot behind Otting on the depth chart. Additionally, for this weekend's game, the Notre Dame football communications team indicated that wide receiver Micah Gilbert and offensive lineman Charles Jagasaw, who you'll remember, Charles underwent a follow-up procedure from the injury he suffered in the UTV accident over the summer, and Peter Jones are going to miss this weekend's game. Freshman offensive lineman Will Black, who we didn't see against North Carolina State due to a concussion, along with tight end Cooper Flanagan, they're both listed as questionable for the contest. Now, on the outside, revolving around Jaden Greathouse again, he's listed as questionables, missed the previous two games against Boise State and, of course, NC State, so he keeps that tag with him, the questionable status. As the week progresses, we'll be able to keep an eye on any updates or changes that may come concerning some of the guys that are listed with the questionable tag right now, most notably Greathouse. Because when you break things down, you look at the Irish passing game in great rhythm at the moment. I think we would all agree there. But adding the player of Greathouse's capability back into the fold more consistently, because it looked like they were trying to do that a bit more the last couple of weeks after what was a really slow start. That's only going to make them more dangerous, because you've seen the development here, the rapport that CJ Carr has built with Will Pauling, certainly Malachi Fields, Jordan Faison, Eli Raridan, Jay Love out of the backfield as a pass catcher, because we know what he does with the rock in his hand as a runner. So the passing game continues to get better and better with each passing week. KK Smith getting more involved. But if you can get that consistent productivity from a guy like Jaden Greathouse when he returns to the field, hopefully this weekend against the 20th ranked Trojans, you've added another element, and one that we were all really excited about coming through the CFP into the national championship game and out of it last year into this year for number one, because we expected big things. Hasn't come to fruition to this point, but if you're able to get him right and get him back into the fold, I think most of us will not have much doubt that Jaden Greathouse will be a massive contributor to this team, and specifically to the Notre Dame passing game. When you talk about this weekend's contest under the lights inside Notre Dame Stadium, there's always an extra layer of anticipation, right? When the Trojans come to town, especially when you remember the fact that this is a USC team that hasn't won in South Bend since 2011, which is a jarring statistic. In taking a look at how the two teams do stack up, however, the game does position itself as one that possesses loads of intrigue. They usually do when the Irish and the Trojans meet. And this one is no different. USC is led by the strong play of quarterback Jaden Mayava. You'll remember him from last year, threw for 360, a couple of scores against Notre Dame. Did throw two devastating pick sixes against the Irish in a 49-35 loss for USC to end the regular season. But he leads an offense here capable of racking up yards and posting points in a hurry, very similarly to what Notre Dame has done this season. Now, on the trail this year, the Trojan passing game ranks second in the nation in yards per game, with total offense and scoring offenses statistically both inside the top three in America. To add another layer to it, USC, even with multiple injuries in the backfield, and I'll get more into that in a minute, they boast the nation's 16th ranked rushing attack, which is big. And while the Irish defense has certainly been a different animal the past few weeks, this is going to be a legitimate test for a group ranking just inside the top 60 in America in total defense. That's the Irish defensive 11. This is a Notre Dame group that surrendered just over 350 yards per game to opponents this season. And I think we all understand that going into this one, and you can see many of the statistical breakdown on your screen, the main challenge you would think here, as good as Leonard Moore is the Notre Dame secondary against the pass. They rank 102nd in the nation after giving up in the first 6 games over 245 pass yards per game. And to find success this weekend, that's obviously a statistic that has to improve. And we've seen it improve over the past 3 to 4 games. I don't want to dismiss that notion because it's an undeniable fact. Now, when the Irish have the football, they'll see a USC defense that possesses talent, sure, but a unit that has holes. The best of the bunch for Lincoln Riley's defense is their safety, Bishop Fitzgerald. He may be the best safety in America. 5 picks on the season, a couple of sacks, passes defensed, and he absolutely flies to the football. So C.J. Carr is going to be aware of where he is on the field, that is Fitzgerald, at all times throughout this one. Outside of Fitzgerald, the USC pass defense has some questions of its own. They really haven't been much better than Notre Dame's, allowing over 243 pass yards per game. That's something that stands out for this Notre Dame offense that has really relied on putting it through the air, because you know you can lean on your running backs and Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love when you need to. I think it's strengthened the passing game, the confidence in C.J. Carr, and you see a unit like this that, hey, you may have some opportunities to put the ball up with success. Where USC's defense has excelled this year, they've got a top 30 rush unit, 108 yards per game on the ground this season. So, you sort of break things down. You want to go statistically and take a look at, well, where does the opponent excel? Where might they struggle? Where can you exploit them? I think you're looking at that from a Notre Dame passing perspective. The USC rush defense has been good, but they have not seen a duo like Love Price as they will this weekend under the lights in South Bend. I think overall, you absolutely could be in store for a game full of big plays, chunk yardage, and plenty of scoring. But if the defenses continue to step up, particularly a Notre Dame group that has looked like the strong force I think most of us expected they would look like coming into the season, perhaps the Irish are able to control the speed and the tempo of this one a little bit more. It's no easy task going up, defensively against a quarterback like Jaden Mayava, conversely, it will not be easy for this USC defense. As good as their run defense has been, with what Notre Dame possesses in the backfield, an offensive line that is playing well. Now you're going to have a new center, I know that, nodding, with Craig out for the rest of the year, but a passing game that has really been able to move the ball with confidence and consistency the past couple of weeks. I think it's going to be a fun one. Rivalry games usually are. Notre Dame and USC have had some damn good ones over the years. I think Saturday night's going to be another good one as well. And I talked yesterday that the Trojans have had some tough breaks in the running back room and hinted on it a moment ago. That point took another lousy step yesterday for SC. Already without their starter, Wayman Jordan, for the remainder of the season. USC learned Tuesday that backup running back Eli Sanders is also out for the rest of the campaign due to a knee injury. Now, what does that mean for USC in this weekend? As it did last weekend in their win over Michigan, the majority of the backfield snaps this Saturday are going to go to walk-on King Miller. He ran for over $150 and a score in the Trojans, 39-13, essentially beatdown of the Wolverines over the weekend. The number that stands out to me with Miller, forget the fact that he's a walk-on, 10.5 yards per carry this season. I mean, that's a statistical mountain there to put up numbers like that going up against some of the opponents USC has played and will continue to play. 10.5 yards per carry from a kid who was not supposed to have this type of workload this year has really been impressive. Again, at a clip that was completely unexpected. Good between the tackles, possesses strong vision, 6 foot 210. He's a load when he gets downhill. And moving laterally, he can hit you, and he protects the football. Tough to bring down when he gets into an early rhythm, and he's been in a good one the past couple of weeks. Plus, with Jordan and Sanders done for the year, it's also expected that freshman Harry Dalton III is going to be the number 2 behind Miller this week. And I talked about Dalton a little bit yesterday. The program loves him. They went out and got him. He was a 4-star on the recruiting trail, brought him in essentially for moments like this, but this is way ahead of schedule given the injury depletion USC has had in its backfield. So he should get some touches. He's got 3 or 4 carries already this year, but USC likes the makeup of Dalton III. They like the future outlook for him. Again, perhaps a bit earlier than expected, but I would expect to see him in some capacity trying to take the load away from King Miller, who has really shouldered it for USC through these all injuries. The blows keep coming for the Trojans, but Miller's certainly been that pleasant surprise for, again, a Trojan rushing attack that has statistically, through all of this, been one of the best in the country. And I think you have to give some credit to the SC offensive line up front as well. But, you have to have the wall of 5 up front to create those holes and spaces for your backs in the backfield, especially when you're relying on, dare I say, reserve or backup players like Miller and like we will see this weekend in Dalton the third. So you've got a redshirt freshman and another freshman shouldering the load in that backfield for USC in the run department this weekend against the Notre Dame defense that is feeling pretty damn good after a couple of really, really solid performances against some legitimate offense, specifically in the Boise State and Arkansas games. I think this is a clash of really two teams that know, hey, basically, we might be playing in a playoff elimination game. So with all of these things going on, the injury up front for Notre Dame with Craig, the injuries in the backfield for UFC, you've got storylines galore here. Who's going to make the plays that matter the most? Who's going to step up under the lights Saturday night in what very well could be the final showdown between the rivals? This is the 96th meeting, it will be Saturday, of the football game between Notre Dame and USC. And a good chunk of the conversation lately has been about the future of the rivalry past Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kick in South Bend. Marcus Freeman's been very open about the idea of wanting this game to continue. And while some on the USC side have echoed similar sentiments, it's been the Irish football program that seems to be the most passionate about seeing this annual contest continue. This weekend, as a matter of fact, Coach Freeman wants his guys to play with that undeniable physicality, that extra level, that drive to win the game by being tougher than your opponent, not, as he put it, by constantly trying to, quote, outsmart them, out-physical them, hit them, get bloody. That's what Coach Freeman said in his recent presser he wants. And you'd have to imagine, with the future of the game in jeopardy, Freeman and company want to leave this all out on the field against their biggest rival. That's a no-brainer. Freeman and numerous others, including myself, want the game to continue because of what it means to both Notre Dame and USC, yes, but for college football as a whole. Passionate rivalries, no matter what sport you're a fan of, on what level of that sport you may follow, are fantastic. And ones like this are what make the sport. And for all the major battles we've seen over the years in the other rivalry games, and there's a lot of damn good ones, Texas, Oklahoma, Auburn, Alabama, Iowa, Iowa State, Michigan, Ohio State, Army, Navy, and many others. The battle here for the Jewel Shillelagh between Notre Dame and USC is just as big. And while we won't know the definite and the definitive future of the game ahead of this Saturday, it doesn't mean we can't enjoy it and we're not going to enjoy it. And we still have a few more days to break it all down. So this is a fun week. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year, whether especially when it's in South Bend, but even when you go out west to Cali. Notre Dame USC is just so special, and it brings more to the table, much more meaning than just a football game and what it has done in 95 prior meetings heading into this weekend for the sport of college football and really football in general, when you have two blue bloods that continue to go at it year after year with essentially every time they play something meaningful and major at stake. With that, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all tomorrow, where I'm going to dive into some of these reports linking Marcus Freeman to the open Penn State job. Of course, James Franklin getting the axe earlier in the week after a terrible loss to Northwestern. So we'll have some conversation about what that means here with Marcus Freeman being thrown, apparently by some, into the potential quote-unquote mix here. For now, be good. And as always, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Go Irish.